In 1848 Alabama, silence was not just expected, it was enforced. On the Holston estate, every word, every glance, every step carried weight, and sometimes even the smallest moment could destroy a life. Elias was only 17, but there was something about him that made people uneasy. Not because he spoke too much, but because he didn't. His silence wasn't empty. It was observant, calculated, deep. He had been born on the estate and had never stepped beyond its wooden fences. The world outside was something he only imagined through fragments, stories whispered at night, or glimpses of distant roads he would never walk. Every morning before sunrise, Elias rose from his narrow wooden bed, pulled on his worn shirt, and walked toward the fields. His movements were steady, almost graceful, too calm for someone raised in hardship. He watched everything. The way the overseer's temper shifted with the heat, the way fear spread faster than truth, the way people disappeared after making small mistakes, and sometimes he watched the big house. The mansion stood on a hill like it belonged to another world entirely. Inside lived Governor Holston, a man respected in public but feared in private, and his wife, Clara Holston. She had arrived 2 years earlier, stepping out of a carriage in a pale dress, her presence soft but distant. People said she was beautiful, but Elias noticed something else. She looked lost. It happened on a warm afternoon. Elias was repairing a fence near the garden when he felt someone watching him. He didn't need to look up to know who it was. Clara. She stood quietly, studying him, not like a master observing a worker, but like someone trying to understand something unfamiliar. "Is that heavy?" she asked gently. Elias froze. White women didn't speak to boys like him, not like that. "No, ma'am," he replied, keeping his eyes down. She didn't leave immediately. Instead, she said something no one had ever said to him before. "You work very steadily." The words landed strangely in his chest. He didn't know what to do with them. "Thank you, ma'am." She nodded, then walked away. But something had changed. The next day, she came back, and the day after that. At first, their conversations were small, about the garden, about the weather, about nothing, but slowly, something deeper began to form. Clara wasn't like the others. She didn't give orders. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't treat him like he didn't exist. She spoke to him like he was human, and that alone was dangerous. One afternoon, everything shifted. Clara appeared in the garden, but this time something was different. Her hair wasn't fully tied back. Her posture wasn't composed. She looked unsettled. "Do you ever get tired?" she asked. Elias hesitated. "Tired, Mom?" "Yes," she said quietly, "of all this." For a moment the world seemed to stop. Then he answered, "Yes, Mom." Clara exhaled like she had been holding that breath for years. "I feel like I'm living inside a cage," she whispered, "and every day I wake up hoping the walls have moved, even just a little." Elias didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken to him like this. No one had ever shown him their weakness. "I'm sorry, ma'am," he said. Clara shook her head. "I don't want apologies. I just wanted someone to hear me." And for the first time, Elias looked at her, not as the governor's wife, but as a person. That was the moment everything changed. Days passed. They became more careful, more quiet, more aware of the danger surrounding them. But they didn't stop, because loneliness has a way of pulling people together even when it shouldn't. Then came the rumors. At first, they were whispers. "She's been walking in the gardens too often." Someone saw her near the worker's side. A boy was nearby. That was all it took. On a plantation like Holston's, truth didn't matter, only suspicion. Elias felt it immediately, the way people looked at him. The sudden silence when he entered a room, the tension in the air. Even the overseer, Briggs, began watching him. One day, Briggs stepped directly in his path. "You've been near the house too much," he said coldly. "I'm just doing my work." Briggs leaned closer. "A boy like you don't need to do much to cause trouble." Elias said nothing because he understood something important. In that world, silence was safer than truth. Meanwhile, inside the big house, The governor had started asking questions. Clara noticed the change, the way he watched her, the way his voice hardened, the way the house itself felt colder. At dinner, he finally spoke. "You've been outside a great deal lately." "The gardens help me think," she replied calmly. "Alone?" he asked. It wasn't a question, it was a warning. That night, everything escalated. Rumors reached the governor, and men like him did not tolerate uncertainty, not in their house, not in their name. The next morning, Elias was summoned. 2 guards escorted him to the house. That alone told him everything he needed to know. This was not a conversation, this was judgment. Governor Holston stood waiting. "You've been near my wife," he said. "I've only been working, sir." "Are you calling me a fool?" "No, sir." The tension tightened. "Have you spoken to her?" the governor demanded. Elias hesitated, because in that moment, truth could destroy him. Before he could answer, "Stop!" Clara's voice cut through the air. She stepped forward, standing between them. "He has done nothing wrong," she said firmly. Holston turned to her slowly. "You forget yourself." "No," she replied. "I remember myself." Silence. Heavy. Dangerous silence. Something inside the governor broke. Not in rage, but in pride. And wounded pride always needs someone to blame. "Remove the boy," he ordered. "Send him to the southern fields." Clara froze. Everyone knew what that meant. The southern fields were brutal, isolated. Men didn't come back the same, if they came back at all. Elias didn't resist. He didn't beg. He simply looked at Clara one last time and nodded, as if to say, "It's not your fault," even though they both knew it was. As he was led away, Clara's voice echoed behind him. "This is unjust." The governor didn't even look at her. "What's unjust," he said coldly, "is a wife who gives her husband reason to doubt." And just like that, everything changed. But this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning, because some choices don't just affect lives. They ignite consequences. And what started as a quiet conversation in a garden was about to become something far more dangerous.